Okay, start streaming the event. And welcome, starting. And the very first second has ticked off. We are live. And now we're technically not live. As you can see in my countdown clock right here, we have 4 minutes and 53 seconds before we're actually going live. So any of you who are joining us right now, you're enjoying hey, this is the very beginning. They're getting set up. They're having audio checks and all sorts of nonsense. And so, hey, it's the fun part of the beginning of a live broadcast. We're also going to try and go through Facebook Live. And this is something that we've done before with just one camera, but we haven't done it with two. So Rusty and I are going to attempt something that they claim is possible, at least the blogs that I found, where they claim that we can make him join my podcast. Let me turn off this fan. Where I can make it so that Rusty joins my Facebook Live as a buddy, and then with that buddy on Facebook Live, we can split screen this. So I'm going live on Facebook right now with my phone. We still have 4 minutes left to go before we're really going to be live on tonight's AstroPhotog Live podcast. But for now, we're going to enjoy what we do have. Robert Ryan, no audio. I'm glad I popped into Facebook to see the announcement. Hey, Kathy. I have audio on Kathy's side, but Robert does not. So, Kathy, I just said the number 14. Tell me the number that I said, Kathy, to prove that you could hear me. And Rob, tell me if you can't hear me. Kathy, you can hear me, okay? So we're going live in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. We're Facebook Living right now. You're looking at me inside my room. In fact, I am going to tilt this up a little bit more. You guys can see less of my storage. Who cares about the storage? Hey, Braxton Lombardi. All right, so we are live on Facebook. We're going to add Rusty Parkhurst on the Facebook. It's going to be interesting to see how we get going. Hey, Miriam, those of you who type in Facebook, I'm probably going to miss a lot of your comments. It's going to be a challenge. As I'm live on YouTube and live on Facebook, it's going to be fun. We're in an inception mode of live right now. She said 14, so Kathy can hear me. It's proven. Rob, you got to fix your end. Hey, Jenna, how's it going? So we also had a message from, I pulled it down. There we go. So Braxton said, are you on a talk show? Yeah, Braxton, we're doing a podcast called the ASTRO PHOTOG Podcast. It's a photog adventure podcast, but it's just focused on astrophotography, celestial events. And so I've got Rusty Parkhurst here joining me from Kansas, and we're going to talk about the eclipse today and just talk and have fun. Hey, Jesse, thanks for joining, man. So I am going to now invite Rusty Parkhurst to join. That's interesting, Rusty. I can invite everyone but you. All right, invite Rusty. There I go. I can see it. I'm inviting you. Let me know if you're getting it on your end, because this could be awesome if this actually works. And the countdown clock should be working for you YouTubers. Just 2 minutes left before we go live. So all this nonsense of just getting everything set up can be nonsense because, hey, we aren't live yet. We're technically not live. So Rusty is accepting the invite. I can see it, and he's coming in. And, oh, come on, accept it, Rusty. Let's go split screen. And hopefully the split screen will block my storage shelves over there, and I can block the ugliest part of my video. That'd be awesome. Hey, say a number on your end, Rusty. Say some number between 1 and 472, but it can't be 473. Anything below that, say that number, and we'll see if Kathy can hear you.
52.
Ah, did you hear that number, Kathy? Let me know if you heard that. We can make sure that we have good audio for Rusty before we go live in 1 minute and 13 seconds. AstroPhotog Podcast. The invite is pending. Rusty is coming, I hope. Rusty, no? The invite went away.
No. Oh.
So I'm inviting you to broadcast again. On your phone, do you see any invite indication? Any indication that you're being invited to this live Facebook chat? Okay, hopefully you'll let you
Yes,
accept that.
I'm seeing the invite, but I don't see where I accept it.
Oh, no? Okay. Me neither. I don't know either. I just know that it says you're being invited, and hopefully that you can hit some button and join us.
Hold on.
You have 37
Wait a
seconds
minute.
before we go live, but it's okay. I'll be talking for the first minute or two, and Robert even heard 52, so that's perfect. We're good. We have audio. The live AstroPhotog Podcast, guys. We're starting in 22 seconds. Right today, we are talking with Rusty Parkhurst, and I have Rob Ryan as a moderator, as always. Hey, Rob, thanks for joining us. Maybe this time he won't share entirely his portfolio and put out his resume during the actual live feed. No, I'm just kidding. Rob was awesome last time. He helped out a ton, and then he was a part of probably our second worst broadcast ever. And so thanks, Rob, for going through that and not hating me by now. Rusty is joining us. I can see Rusty, and you are blocking my storage. That's fantastic. Okay. And just in time, we're at 11 seconds to go. I wish I could turn on some sound bite and be like, it's going live. Wait, no. That red indicates that we've gone over. That's actually not 10-second red numbers. That is just saying we are live. We are live now. Welcome, everybody, to the ASTRO PHOTOG Podcast. I'm Aaron King, and we're joined today with Rusty Parkhurst. You might know him from the Improved Photography Podcast, the Improved Photography website, and from other awesome videos that I've heard about on YouTube called Photog Adventures, where Rusty Parkhurst has featured prominently. Hey, Rusty.
Hey, Aaron. How's it going?
Hey, it's going well. We've got 9 listeners over there on Facebook, and we have a bunch of listeners in here on YouTube that I have no idea the number of, and it is 9, coincidentally. Okay, 9 versus 8. So YouTube is winning right now. We had one person drop off of our Facebook feed. So tonight we are talking with Rusty about the solar eclipse. We're hanging out. He wrote an awesome article about the solar eclipse. Many of you are like me and leaving Friday maybe and not going to be able to receive a delivery on Saturday or pick anything up. But there's some opportunity possibly to have some last-minute preparation for the solar eclipse. And we wanted to talk about it. We wanted to celebrate it. We wanted to do this Monday night. But this machine that you can see more on Facebook, you can't see it on Facebook. You can see it, the window of on YouTube. That machine broke down on Friday, and it froze mid-progress, lost a video, lost work that I'd done. And then I started doing the podcast. It froze. It's been a nightmare weekend, and so when Monday came, I was still working on a website. We just barely finished putting up the website again. It's halfway done. It looks all there, but there's a bunch of images missing, and we don't have any updated recent articles on there. So photogadventures.com is live, everybody. The best page is probably our adventure workshops that we're going to be doing next year. And, well, that made me miss Rusty's podcast on Monday. So instead of being just 1 week to the moment from the actual eclipse, we're joining on Wednesday. Rusty, give a quick intro of anything else I haven't covered, and then let's get right into it.
Yeah, so unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure everybody knows by now about this big eclipse that's coming up on the 21st on Monday. And you'd mentioned this article that I wrote for Improved Photography. It's been a little over a year ago now. Last June is when I wrote that article, and it seems like time has really flown, and I can't believe it's only just a few days until the eclipse now.
Oh, man, no kidding. It frustrates me that I don't have my solar filter, but I do have a lot of excitement that it's so close.
Oh, gosh. Do you have one on the way, or is...
No. I have been busting my butt trying to fix this computer, procrastinated for some reason until the last couple of weeks instead of doing it months ago. And so now I don't have any ISO certified glasses, and I don't have a full filter for my telescope or for my camera. Half of my plan we'll talk about during this podcast, but I'm going to be okay without it.
Yeah, I don't know if you can find a filter anywhere right now. Seems like every place I've looked is out of them.
Of course. And it's just that film, too. I mean, there's some of the plastic cheap films that can work as a makeshift one. I can't even get one of those, you don't think?
Yeah.
Yikes.
You might try Amazon, but I'm not real confident that you'll be able to find one.
Well, then I won't hold my breath, and I'll just plan going forward with the ideas that I have. So you guys out there on Facebook, hey, Rob, you are on here on our YouTube channel moderating. Do you have enough space on your screen to actually check the Facebook chat and help me see by typing in the questions here in the live chat? We've talked about having Rob in my ear. We don't have that set up today. And since the phone's being used over there, we won't be able to do that today. But if you have your question and we don't get to it, make sure you switch over to it. We're just going to have some fun doing this podcast, talking about the solar eclipse. So, Rusty, give us your first tip, your piece of information that came from your article, and then we'll tell some stories about what you and I are both planning on doing out there. And we'll intersperse all of our stories with tips from the Rusty Parkhurst article.
All right. Probably the most important thing is to plan ahead. which means to have that solar filter ready,
Wait,
which if
little
you don't,
jab.
but yeah, having all the gear that you need, the lens and the camera, obviously, with the filter that fits, and also to know where you're going to go to watch or to photograph the eclipse is pretty big thing. From all accounts, there's going to be just massive amounts of people flocking to this 70-mile wide path across the country to see this, and it's just going to be insane, I think, with the number of people. So it's a good idea to have a spot picked out where you're going to be able to get in and out easily and not have to fight the traffic too bad.
Where are you thinking of going? Let me intersperse one of our stories with quickly. Where are you going to be for the eclipse?
Well, the center path of the eclipse passes within about 10 miles of where I live. So I'm going to be in my yard.
What kind of time? Do you have the PhotoPills app?
Yes, I do.
And you got the eclipse update and everything on yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
you checked your exact spot that you want to be? And it doesn't say it on the PhotoPills app, but if you check that location against a date and time or other website resource that tells you how long you can expect the eclipse to go, the full total, the totality moment.
Where I am, the totality is going to last about 2 minutes and 38 seconds.
Really?
It's just a couple seconds less than the max. So I'm in a pretty good spot right here where I am. So I'm not gonna venture too far away from home. I'm just gonna stay close by, and I don't have a great any great foreground or landscape to include in my shot, but I'm not gonna worry too much about that.
Right, you'll be stuck at looking in the air anyway, and so unless you have some really cool high foreground or you're really low and pulling a tree in, what kind of foreground could you possibly pull into this without going really wide?
Yeah, pretty much all I've got here is trees. So if I wanted to get close to some trees and shoot basically straight up through the trees, I could do that, but mainly going to just focus on just getting some grab shots of just the eclipse, just the sun.
Yeah.
Not worry too much about the foreground.
So your situation in your area, can you describe? You said it's boring, but I mean, we're talking in Kansas. You have 10-mile drive from your house. Is it going to be nuts? Do you have events going on in your area? Are there going to be impossible roads to actually drive? What are you going to do?
Yes, I live about 10 miles east of St. Joseph, actually in Missouri, which is one of the hot spots where a lot of people are traveling from all over the world to some of the events here. I've heard outrageous numbers of how many people are expected to travel here for this event. There's all kinds of watch parties. At one of the locations, there's actually going to be a guest speaker there who is one of the editors for Astronomy magazine.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I'm expecting that to draw a lot of people. I know that there's a lot of international travelers that are coming in as well.
That's really
So
cool. I had Astronomy magazine until this year. It became too poor to afford it, plus my other awesome hobbies. And so now I can't remember who the editor would be and whether or not I'm jealous of you, but that is really cool.
yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but all the main highways and interstates that pass through town are going to be clogged up, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to predict really what's going to happen, but I'm going to try to avoid them as much as possible.
So when you're getting to your position, are you going to go there a day early, even though it's only 10 miles away, or just really early in the morning?
No, I'm actually not leaving. I'm literally not leaving my yard.
So you're not going closer to the path of totality. You're just going to be in your yard for it because you've still got 2 minutes and 38 seconds where you are. Right.
Yeah, I'm 10 miles from the center line. I've still got 100% totality. 2 minutes, a little over 2.5 minutes of totality time. So don't really see any reason to venture out.
Yeah, I understand that. So I'm going to ask you another question about that I'm going to follow up with here in a bit, but go back to one of your tips from your story. I interrupted you there when you mentioned where you were going to be. And while you go ahead and grab that, I'm going to step out and grab my iPad. I left it on that side, and I want to show people the PhotoPills app features a little bit here. So, Rusty, take it away for a few minutes on one of your tips.
Okay.
Awesome.
So not only is it important to plan ahead and to figure out where you're going, but obviously we want to be safe, which means that we don't want to be looking at the sun with the naked eye. So if you got the solar glasses, the eclipse glasses, those are going to be a pretty important piece to have, and you want to make sure that those are ISO certified. And then for your gear, you want to have some kind of filter that's going to cut down the light, that's the light energy that's coming through, as well as the UV and infrared radiation, the rays that are coming into that could damage your sensor. So safety first, I guess. Make sure that you have all those things in place. Protect your gear, but definitely want to protect your eyes.
When you say the light energy rays, we're talking the actual photons that are coming in, or more like a solar flare type energy rays?
Well, the way I understand it, during certain parts of the eclipse, you could actually look at the sun and not even realize that your eyes are being burned because you can't feel the pain. But so it's just important to keep those glasses on, at least until totality. Whenever that totality happens, then you can take those glasses off just for the couple of minutes that happens. But the rest of the time, you need to have those on if you're looking at the sun, and you need to have the filter on your lens as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really looking forward to that part since I don't have mine. If I don't get glasses somewhere locally or some observatory here in Salt Lake tomorrow when I go to work, I'm a little up a creek on watching anything except the moment of totality. And so I'm looking forward to having that moment where I can actually look up at it and experience a life-changing event. Have you ever seen an eclipse that's full eclipse like this before, Rusty? I've never in my life.
No, I've never seen a total eclipse. In fact, I think the last one that touched the United States was back in 1979, and that was in a very small area up in the northwest, I believe.
Oh man, you're too young to make it to that. It's not like you're going to take off in your own car and go up to that.
Right, and and I guess from what I understand, the weather was kind of bad. It was cloudy. So not very many people did see that eclipse anyway. So it just wasn't very good conditions. Yeah. So we have kind of a unique opportunity. Not only is it going to stretch all the way from Oregon down to South Carolina, but it's happening in August, whenever most of the country is going to be most likely going to have clear skies, at least for part of it, or most all of it.
Yeah. We got one comment from a sound. Well, you guys got to level out your volumes. I don't know if you're saying, Joe, we need to level them out, or you're laughing because of last broadcast. We've actually fixed our audio since then. So I'm hoping what you're saying is that the audio is much better and it's not need to be leveled out. So sorry you were part of that last one. So this eclipse is something that I have never thought about being a part of, because there's always something across the world somewhere else. They happen frequently worldwide. It's not so infrequent that it's every 40 years or something crazy like that, but it's something that here we actually have it locally and across all of the United States, from West Coast to East Coast. And I've looked. I think you have it in your article somewhere, and tell us more about it. Do you have anything in there about the cloud cover, the most likely areas for cloud cover? I have something. If you don't,
I know that you can.
Go ahead.
I know that the website. There's websites, and I don't know which ones off the top of my head that you can look at to determine the likelihood that you're going to have clear skies this particular time of year. I know that in my area, Like in the last 25 years, there's only been overcast skies on August 21st, like a couple of times in that whole time period. So it's very likely that we'll have clear skies here. But as far as the rest of the path, I'm not real sure.
I found a really good one today that I'll try and locate and share right here on the screen. And you won't be able to see it, Rusty, except in delay through the Facebook feed or the live feed. But it shows a lot of dots and predictions of where they expect it to go. And if you really just want to know the final outcome, the west coast of Oregon, likely to be cloudy. There's likelihood of clouds. East side of Oregon through the west side of Idaho, that whole section, that swath of land, completely dry. I looked at a map today where it showed me the weather for the next 10 days out there in Weiser, Idaho, and you have clear, partly cloudy, clear. And we're talking partly cloudy 2 days after the eclipse. So at worst, that 10-day prediction is wrong by 2 days, and it squeezes into the Monday, and now the partly cloudy day, the only partly cloudy day in Weiser predicted over the next 10 days, is right on the eclipse. So that's a concerning thing, but also not, because with all that clear sky, we're talking partly cloudy might be so partly cloudy that the area where the sun is not going to be blocked. We're talking, if it's partly cloudy, it could be cloudy on the horizon, cloudy over there or behind you, but the sun's right up there, no worries. I'm not afraid of it. That's kind of the area of Idaho I'm leaning to right now coming from Utah.
Yeah, my original plan has always been to stay close to home, but I thought that, if we had a likelihood of having cloudy skies, that I'd just drive, maybe a couple of hours to the northwest or to the southeast of me and try to find some clear skies. But I've decided that I don't want to try to get out and do that. So I'm just hoping that I'm going to have clear skies here where I am. And so far, the weather forecast is looking good.
Well, that's awesome. What is it saying for your area?
We're going to have possibility 20% chance of some rain showers that morning, but later in the day it's going to be mostly sunny skies. So we could have a few clouds lingering around, but we should have mostly clear skies to work with.
Oh, right on. So looking at the eclipse2017.org website, I have a graphic up here that Rusty can't see where you can see color where it's blue and red. And as you look at the guide, it's showing that the chance of cloud cover is higher in the red areas versus the blue areas. And so average August cloud cover, if the weather cooperates as it has done in average August times, the actual cloud amount from a fraction of like 0 to 1, you're looking at far in the East Coast, South Carolina area, that's far more likely, and then just kind of gets easier towards the deserts of the West. California, I'm surprised it's showing so much opportunity there, but that's just Jay Anderson's great map. There's other options out there. Simple Google away from it, and I'll keep looking and pull it up here. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, Rusty.
No, I had not seen that. There's so many websites dedicated specifically for this eclipse. I don't know how many I've looked at, and I can't keep track of which ones are which anymore. There's just so many, so much information out there.
It's so true. You were going to say something about your area, where you're going to be, and I think it was, what are you planning to do with your setup? Are you just tripod pointing? Do you have a tracker? What are you going to do to get that eclipse?
I'm pretty simple. I just have a tripod. I'm going to have a long lens on my camera. I'm going to be pointing. By the time the eclipse happens here where I am, the sun's going to be really high in the sky. I don't remember the degrees, but the totality happens here where I am at about 1, just a little bit after 1 in the afternoon. So we're going to be looking practically straight up. So I'm just going to have my camera on a tripod. I'm going to be pointing straight up with that long lens and just try to keep tracking the sun by just moving the camera manually as I need to. So it's going to be a little tricky, but we'll see what we can come up with.
Awesome. Sweet. Rusty's level's good. Aaron's audio's too low. I'm seeing that information now. Let me attempt something that I believe will bring it up. So Rusty, What is your ultimate goal? How's that volume? It's louder in my ears. Let me know if that volume is good. Incredible. You're so close to it. I can't wait to see the pictures. Oh, yeah. I hear you, Joe. So what is your ultimate goal? Is it a zoomed-in shot of the eclipse, or are you going for wide angle? And Peter wrote, your audio is too low in big caps. Peter, I'm sorry, man. I did not see that. I'm jumping back and forth between these graphics, and I foolishly left this window blocked. My bad. Apologies to you, Peter. So what's your goal, wide or zoomed in?
So I'm going to have two cameras going. I'm going to have my Fuji camera with a wide angle lens, and I'm just going to set that up on an intervalometer probably and just let it go. Not really worry too much about it. Then I'm going to have my Canon with the 150 to 600 millimeter Sigma lens, probably zoomed in to 600. And I'm going to try to get just a sequence of shots showing the different phases of the eclipse, and maybe composite those into an image. But other than that, I don't have any grand or lofty goals other than just to enjoy it and have fun, and I don't want to be spending so much time fiddling with my gear that I miss the eclipse. So I just want to make sure that I actually see it.
I think I put my volume way too loud. I jumped from a 60% to 100. Gabe's saying it's still a little too low. Mike says a little more volume. Let me know, guys. Am I yelling at you now and hurting your ears? So hopefully that's working. Rusty, are you going to put together one of those composites where you put the phases of the eclipse and everything?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm sure everybody has seen those before. That shows it shows the sun right before partial begins, and then it kind of shows the different phases of it, and then it shows the totality right in the middle, and then it shows as it goes back the other way, and then you have like a sequence, like a composited image where it shows each of those phases on one single image. But
that's gonna be really cool. But what are you going to composite it over if you're only taking that if you're only going to capture that really zoomed in shot? What do you composite it together with?
It'd just be on a black background.
Oh, okay.
Just showing the different phases of the sun with the moon passing between the Earth and the sun. So nothing real fancy or extravagant. Just something simple. Like I said, I want to keep it kind of simple that way so that I can have time to actually see it with my own eyes instead of just looking at it through a live viewfinder the whole time.
Right on. Okay, so I've changed my volume levels a bit here locally on the Tascam itself. I've gone from software upping it to actual Tascam where it's going to bring in a little bit more gain. So let me know, guys, if that matches Rusty's volume. Apparently, Rusty, your volume is great and it's loud, but then because I'm so low, they have this big contrast between us. And I hate the fact that I can't hear that and that I can't know for sure. Due to poor wireless connection, your broadcast. Oh, okay, it dropped out for a second there, but it's back on Facebook. Here we go. So hopefully you guys are hearing this volume well. Let me know and I'll tell my story. But Rusty, a black background, perfectly symmetrical, nice little arch or totally straight line. And what kind of design decisions are you making for that shot?
I haven't thought that far ahead yet. I'll see if I got to actually get the shots first.
Fair enough. Nope, still low. Goodness. Okay. All right. Trying something else. Swapping over to a different output. So let me know if that output just brought it way up. It sounds louder in my headphones, but I'm not sure if it actually fixed it. So this is a bummer. I can't win, even when everything else goes wrong, but the audio on my side is fine. As soon as I get everything else working, even adding Facebook Live, the audio on my side decides to crap out. It's not nearly as bad as last time. That's okay. That's good, Mike, but I'm disappointed. I can't help but be disappointed now. What a fight that I'm always having to make with this thing. What a pain. Me too, Rusty. Hope to get some good shots, but want to enjoy it too. A constant battle. So with Joshua Brown's point and Rusty's point, and I'll just talk much louder and see if that'll help, guys. Up a little. Up a little. I'm going to go up on the gain. Let's go up on the gain, see if that works. Come on. Cooperate with me. It's close enough. Carry on, Mike says. Awesome. Great, because I hate worrying about this stuff. So, guys, when I get out there, because I don't have my solar filter and because I don't have a solar filter on the telescope, I knew I wasn't going to get a rental in time. I knew I wasn't going to get a telephoto lens that was attached to my camera. But I also was going to miss out on an awesome opportunity if I did go that route. So the route that I'm going is, here's the sun. I'm at a higher elevated point. I got to find a higher hill that I could go up, or a mountain even, that's not going to cut me off from the view. I can't go so close to the mountains that I've got clouds blocking my view of the sun in order to see the terrain. So my goal is to have a shot where I can see the terrain, maybe even people with me. It'd be awesome if I found people with me. And I'm going to have a time lapse running from the beginning to the end of the eclipse, so you can see how the shadow comes across the earth, because I'm high enough to see that. And then it gets dark around me. You see me. I don't think I'm going to put myself in the shot. You'll see me in the video for the Photog Adventure, and you'll see me kind of crying and screaming out how amazing it is. But you're not going to see that in my time lapse. You're just going to see the terrain and the landscape, because I'm hoping what I can get is that sun in frame and see the difference that happens to the sun while the moon crosses in front of it. Not a detailed view of any of the crescents, but my ultimate, Rusty, my ultimate hope is that not only can I find this position that's high up, view of the sun, view of the terrain in front of me, and seeing the shadow creep across, but I want trees. I want dabbled light from trees being around me, shining down on a surface. Even if I have to put like a white cooler or a big white piece of paper or something right there, I want to see how those pinhole effect, dabbling effect happens on the leaves, where the leaves are holding the sunlight just through it enough that you start to see little crescents. And as the moon goes in front and transits the sun, it's going to give a different animation. So my ultimate would be trees on the left, sun on the right. The tree is causing a little shadow to happen that I can see very clearly in my wide-angle lens, that's showing the moon cross over the sun and giving me a little eclipse, giving me like a little eclipse animation, while in front of me is a beautiful terrain, awesome situation, and you can see a shadow come over, go dark, and a shadow go away. I'm hoping during the frames that I have that I'm set, this is going to be the hard part, Rusty, is actually changing my settings live, because once I get to the point where I'm actually doing the time lapse, I am going to have to change settings manually, and I'm probably going to use the Rokinon lens, so that the thing that I can do to ramp is just my aperture. I won't want to do anything else, so I'll have as sturdy as I possibly can on my Faisal tripod, and then I'm going to have everything, and I'm just going to tweak it a little bit as it goes, and it's just going to be interesting to see if I can succeed and not make that, time lapse all jumpy and crappy, or if I can get the dappled light to show that the eclipse is happening and all those little moon shapes and all becoming the eclipse and then going out. I'm excited. The reality is I'm probably just going to get a time lapse of a shadow going over everything, and, just the fun of people who are there who are enjoying it with me.
That's going to be cool. I think just seeing the shadow and seeing the reactions of other people would be kind of a neat thing to show. Everyone's going to have pictures of the sun and the eclipse, but how many people are going to actually have pictures of what's going on around them while the eclipse is happening? So that'd be really neat.
And so that's why I'm hoping that I can get a big crowd that's actually in the position that allows me the option of both. And maybe I'll get lucky and I can see their reaction, see people hug that get so emotional. It's just going to be funny to see what happens out there.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That's kind of what I had in mind for my second camera, just a wide angle lens, but I'm not going to be real adamant about manning it and changing the settings manually. I'm just going to let it go and see what I come up with.
You have a Sony for your second camera, or are you using the Sony for your first?
It's actually the Fuji is the second.
Right, the Fuji.
Yeah.
So you don't have the feature of the time lapse within the Sony app that they can actually ramp for you. No,
it's all going to have to be manually or done after the fact.
So one comment I want to point out, and Rob is pointing out in the chat, that people are saying that you can use ND filters, but we're also getting some reputable sources saying absolutely not. You can't expect your ND filter to save your camera from all of the damage that can happen. The ND filter is just not built like ISO certified and all the other stuff that is actually keeping those sun harmful rays from, doing damage to your sensor. So everyone listening to this, all you guys, don't depend on an ND filter. Get the right gear. If you haven't yet and you're not leaving on Friday like I am and you have time for a delivery, take advantage of that.
Yeah, I've read it both ways. Some people are using a 16 or 20 stop ND filter, but from what I understand, the ND filter will block the light, but it won't block the UV and IR rays that can damage your eyes. So if you do happen to have that on your camera, you definitely don't want to look through the viewfinder. Make sure you're using live view.
Right.
Because it's not going to block those harmful rays that could damage your eyes. I'm not exactly sure what those rays do to the sensor in your camera, if they will damage that as well, but I'm not going to risk it.
Yeah, I agree. And I only have one camera out there because the camera rental I went for turned out to be in a situation where the stock was low and I wasn't able to get to it, so I lost my chance to get that for a second body. So I'm not going to risk my one camera body on this. It's not worth it. I take the shot.
And you're using a 6D?
Yeah, the Canon 6D. In fact, I was going to test the Canon 6D Mark II over this weekend, since it was a new moon weekend while I was up there, and see how it compared next to my Canon 6D for Milky Way photography. But I lost that opportunity. We'll have to do it next week when I can get it after that. So those of you watching this podcast over on YouTube, you can see this graphic. Sorry, Facebook, you will not see this graphic. This is just covered up by eclipse, chances of cloudiness, and you can see in these white circles. I tried to share the screen with you, Rusty, but then they couldn't see you. So let me just share the screen now, because you weren't talking about anything, so you won't miss out. People won't miss out on your face, even though they're probably going to miss your face. This is
I don't think so.
Yours, I'm going to talk as loud as I can to make it work. Rusty, if you could see this, you got this image of just white circles, and the grayer circles and the darker circles are where your potential clouds. And they have the path of the sun and the shadow of the moon going across the whole breadth of the path of totality. And they're showing how right here in eastern Oregon, western Idaho, it's very fantastic for chance. Because, I mean, it has a few white circles, which says it's a 0 to 25% chance of cloudiness. Other areas don't even have, I mean, around that area, they don't even have circles. That's how good. So a part of the path of totality, it actually gets cloudier the further you go, and the further you get, the closer you get to that point where it has the 2-minute, 41-second or whatever full total eclipse that lasts the longest duration. And so you can see how in East Coast all the way down to Charleston, man, it is rough and potentially, 50 to 100% chance of having clouds. So I am thankful once again for being out in this area. What luck can I have to be here for this perfect eclipse, and for Milky Way photography, and for landscape photography? I can't get over the luck. I know Kathy, she's on here with us.
Stop bragging.
To Utah. I am humble bragging. No, I am not humble bragging. I am just flat out bragging.
No, I'm jealous.
Well,
it looks like.
I'm sorry, I cut your screen off.
It looks
like what?
It looked like from where I am, it looked like we have mostly white to the light gray circles here, but any further east, and it looks like I'd be in the clouds.
Oh, yeah. And Kathy points out that my window popped away again. Those of you who are familiar with my recent live webinars, my camera system is acted up where it refreshes. And when it refreshes, the OBS software that I use to see who I am, it turns off every time. It's a fun benefit. I love it. And I wish it would stop doing it, but we just have... Those of you who are watching the camera here in a second, you'll see something that will make you happy about. If you've enjoyed any of these live webinars and wish that I didn't have such junky gear, you're going to get excited for this part. So I'm just moving this over so you can see what I'm talking about. EOS utility app, come on, go to the right window. It's just not recognizing that window right now. So Rusty, after I'm done with fixing this, take us into something more of your tips that you have in your article. Or while I'm doing this, I should say.
While you're doing that, so I've already said that you definitely want to be shooting in live view, and I would do that. I'm going to do that even though I have a solar filter. I just don't want to be looking through the viewfinder, and that because I just have one of the pieces of the film material that I made my own filter with, and if that should happen to fall off or something crazy were to happen, I don't want to be looking through the viewfinder when that happens.
Ooh, wow.
So I'm going to be using live view to shoot the whole time. That'll also allow me to see or to zoom in and to make sure that I'm in the best focus possible. because I'll be manually focusing. The only downside to using live view is it's going to drain my battery pretty quickly, or quicker than normal. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of spare batteries that are charged, ready to go, especially if you're going to be shooting from basically the beginning of the eclipse all the way to the end. That time is about 3 hours or so from the time the partial starts all the way through to the very end. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of batteries, make sure that you got plenty of memory card space, because you're going to be taking lots of shots, or at least I know I will be, and I'll be doing a lot of bracketing as well. I'm going to be bracketing like crazy and taking as many shots as quickly as I can to try to cover all the dynamic range.
Hey, Rusty, keep going for a minute. I just got to grab something to charge my phone. Looks like I'm running out of battery on this guy. Be right back.
Okay. So I'm using, for my main camera, I'm using the Canon 5D Mark III. I'm going to have it set up. It has 3 custom shooting modes. I'm not sure if I think all Canon cameras have that, and probably Nikon as well has the custom modes, but I have those set for the different settings that I want to use for different phases of the eclipse. So that way, whenever totality starts, I can just turn that dial instead of having to adjust each setting individually. I can just turn that dial and it's already set up with all the settings that I want to use for that. So it's going to speed things up. Whenever we get into totality, you're only going to have a couple of minutes, which is going to be probably the fastest 2 minutes ever whenever you're trying to get all these shots. So I want to get set up and get ready as quickly as I can, have the camera ready to go, and just be able to switch that dial over to those settings. So if you got that, I would definitely take advantage of it. Get out now, get out this weekend and practice as much as possible with the different settings so that you know exactly what you need, and also practice taking that filter on and off your camera, because whenever we get to totality, you can take that filter off, shoot through those 2 minutes of totality, and then you got to put the filter back on whenever we start getting to the other side. So you want to make sure that you're able to get that filter on and off easily and quickly, not drop it. So definitely want to get out and practice as much as you can if you haven't already done so.
So real quick, I was telling everybody that I had something that was going to fix this. This is borrowed from Drew Armstrong. He joined us in the last podcast. It's a Video, and the Video Pro is going to allow us to have a connection here. So instead of using the OBS software where I actually have a live feed from my remote control of the EOS app that keeps turning off on me, this is going to be a solid connection, and I'm looking forward to using it. And we were going to try it tonight, but because we're going to share the screen with Rusty, we didn't use it tonight. And so Photog Adventures is on its way to no longer be some like halfway UHF channel. We're going to become a real fun YouTube channel. It's going to be great. And I see a complaint from Alex that he can't hear anything.
Sweet.
And I wonder if he can't hear Rusty or if he can't hear me, if it's just something on his end. Because, guys, let me know. Now audio is in and out, Chuck Egan says. Man, I just can't win with these devices. This is a joke. As much as I can hear, it is just not cooperating every time. So I don't know what to say, guys, except that the video is going to solve that. Mics will be feeding directly into it, and we're going to make it better, and it's going to work out. I'm glad that Facebook Live is on, because if you can't hear us here on YouTube, you can go over to Facebook Live and see it from our Facebook group, or go to Aaron King. It's my Aaron King with the Photog Adventures logo account. You could see the live feed there, and at least you're using our phones. You can hear Rusty and myself off the phone. I have no idea what the guys over on Facebook are typing and saying, if they're saying anything at all. So if the audio is bad, sorry guys. Hopefully it's working out okay. I was hoping to hear more Rusty and less Aaron. Hey, Stephen M. So they hear Rusty just fine. Sounds like it's working okay for some, and I'm just back. Not sure what's going on in and out, but hey, we're going to go with it and run with it the best we can. So someone asked earlier what type of lens I was going to use, and I think I'm going to use the Rokinon because I have that aperture on the outside of the lens that I can adjust. Problem is it's a 24 millimeter, and do I want to go for 24 millimeter? If I get a good enough scene that works out, I will stay at 24 millimeter. That should be wide enough in some situations. Otherwise, I'm going to go for the full Tamron at 15 millimeter, and I'm going to use that for the Eclipse. Now that means changing the settings is going to require some work. I'll probably just use the auto ISO feature and have that change and ramp for me as it gets darker. And then when it gets really bad, I'm just going to have to stop the time lapse, change it, and start it back up again and deal with a little hitch. And he hears Rusty very clear, so that's great. It's too bad that my stuff is just not cooperating. I hate the fact that it doesn't work. So Rusty, everyone knows the things that you've mentioned so far, like ISO and all that. We've all come through, like, okay, make sure your eyes are good, your camera's good. We've even talked about some of the settings that we're going to use and stuff that we're going to do. Do you have any advice for people who are trying to expose a shot of the actual point of totality, where it's just you got the coronal mass ejection? We've heard it on other podcasts with Nick Page, Brent Bergherm, and other awesome guys. Do you have any advice for that dynamic range of hitting that and trying to capture it? I know that you've never done it. I've never done it. We have no credible way of saying any advice, but just reminding anyone, any tips?
Yeah, never done it before, but been doing a lot of reading and research of what other people have recommended, and I know that there's a very huge dynamic range from the inner part of the corona all the way out to the outer part. There's like a 12-stop difference in the dynamic range there. So whenever we get to totality, I'm going to be doing 7-shot bracketing, which is the max that my camera will do, and I'm just going to bracket like crazy and I'll try to cover as much of that dynamic range as I possibly can.
Which camera did you say you're going to use for that? Is it going to be your Canon 5D?
That'd be the Canon 5D Mark III.
So built into the Canon, we can do 3 brackets. How are you going to bracket like crazy? Are you going to put in Magic Lantern and go for the crazy 9, 10, 12?
No, the Canon 5D Mark III will do up to 7.
Up to 7 when you adjust it inside the settings. Okay, that's good to know. So you're going to bracket 7, a neutral, and then 6, 3, ooh, I don't know. What are you doing? 3 above, 3 below, and 1 a neutral? What are you thinking?
I totally lost your audio there, but I think I know what you asked.
Lost my audio. Hey, everything's going great.
So
go ahead, and then I'm going to ask you a question for Entangled.
My middle exposure during the totality is going to be somewhere probably around the maybe f8, maybe f5.6, ISO maybe 400, then a shutter speed of maybe 1/125th or 1/250th, something like that, and then I'm going to bracket 3 stops up and down from there on either side.
Right on. It's going to be nuts to see that and to see how it looks on the LCD screen. I know that I'm going to check it, but really I am just going to watch it. I can't believe what it's going to be like watching with my own eyes. So I got the question about where am I going to be, what time's the eclipse for me. Entangled, the exact location that I will be at. If you have the PhotoPills app for the eclipse, you can actually look at it and see information about what time it starts and roughly how many minutes it's going to be, but it doesn't tell you precise seconds. And so my location, if I do go to Weiser, Idaho area, which is looking very promising, like I'll be joining Kirk Kais out there, because it is just the best, most potentially clear skies out there. And if I am out in that area, I believe I'll have to pull up another feed. It's just the graphic that I've shared in the past, and you just do the Great American Eclipse. In fact, it fills out for me even though I spelled it great. And you go to that graphic, you see an image here that shows you all the areas, and you can check the timeline. And I believe it's something around 1.5 minutes. Oh, not the CNN version of this link. Terrible, 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 terrible. So I'm going to pull in this one. This is not the same graphic, but it's going to give me something that's going to be a clear idea. So between the area of 2 minutes and 10 seconds and 2 minutes and 20 seconds, now I'm going to be closer towards the 2 minutes and 15 seconds is what I'm going to end up seeing entangled. So I'll have the sun and the land in the same frame because I'm going to use a wide angle 15 millimeter or even the 24 millimeter Rokinon, and I'm just going to shoot the terrain and like I'm doing a sunset where the sun's up in the sky. Because this is over here on the west coast, it's a 10 a.m. sun, not a high noon sun, and so I'm going to have a tougher time seeing it, but it's not like Rusty where it's straight overhead. It's going to be over on my horizon a little bit, about 20 degrees up. In fact, that information is in the PhotoPills app, and let's just switch it over here to Weiser, Idaho, and I can tell you. So there's Oregon, the coast of Oregon, and move my pin right over here. Let me move it up. Come on, pin, cooperate, go to Weiser area. And at that spot, it says that the total eclipse is going to be, come on. It's giving me a magnitude and it's giving me a total eclipse, but it's not giving me that angle of the sun unless I move it here. So let me move it here during the eclipse. And it's during 10:10 to 12:49 p.m. So I'm just going to go right to the point of totality. So I can see down here, you can't see it on any of these cameras, but down in the corner, I can see the graphic on the PhotoPills app that shows the totality. I move my timeline bar, and now I know right here is where the sun's going to be, looking that direction, and it is 15. No, wrong information. It is about 45 degrees high. And so 45 degrees high at that point in the sky is 4 fists. You know, every 10 degrees is a fist at arm's length. And so 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm optimistic that there's a scenario where I can get it in frame. But it's optimism, and that's me. And most likely, just looking at this again, I'm thinking about some of the terrain I was deciding on where I'm looking over towards the west coast, and I can't do that if I want to see the sun. So I've already been slapped to the face like a noob and said, hey, no. That's not going to work looking that direction. You have to look this direction. So my best time lapse will be the sun and the moon shadow leaving and not arriving. But that's okay. That's just the other direction version of the same thing I was planning.
Cool. Did you? I really like that the ebook that PhotoPills put out. Did you look through that ebook that they?
Pages of it? Yes, I did.
Yeah, awesome. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Apologies to Facebook.
Talk about a lot of information.
Oh, a ton of good information. I'm loving it. And Tobias.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that to anybody.
Oh man. And I know Planet has a great app as well. I haven't seen what they've done with the Eclipse, but if you have Planet for photographers, you're probably being well taken care of there too. They have probably even the minutes and seconds of the totality, so check that app out as well. Tobias says that he's wondering how I'll see the sun so small in the frame. Would it make a unique wide-angle landscape? It won't make a typical beautiful landscape where you have a sunset, golden hour, nothing like that. It's a time lapse that I'm doing. So it won't be a single image of interest. It's going to be all that happens in the time lapse that becomes interesting. And that's what I'm banking on. That's what I'm going to do. And honestly, Rusty already mentioned it. I'm going to put this up, let it run, and I don't have to think about it if I can figure out a way to bulb ramp. I don't have to think about it again, and I can just focus on enjoying the solar eclipse. And that's what I'm there for, to experience it personally.
Absolutely, and you'll catch all the shadows, the changing shadows as the sun, the moon moves in front of the sun, and you'll capture any people that are around you. So it's going to be pretty unique time lapse, I think.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be something that's a lot of fun. And one thing I wanted to mention before the podcast was over, and Rusty, think about your one thing you want to mention before we go here in about 7 minutes, is that there's an app from Google. I don't have the name. I don't even have the name on hand, but this app, this awesome app that's allowing you to have your phone tell you, okay, this is using your sensors in your phone. It can recognize where you are GPS wise and where you're pointing and show you where your phone needs to be pointed to see the eclipse totality happen. Then your phone does a bunch of pictures. It's connected to Google. Hopefully you're in an area where you still have signal. Even if you don't have signal, it's going to run from that point because it can recognize where you are through the GPS. And so while it's up there, it's actually going to be set to go off precisely when the moment of totality happens. And then it's going to capture a ton of pictures of all these moments of the corona doing all sorts of dancing. And what they're hoping is that people across the United States, so it lasts for these areas across Oregon for a minute and 10 seconds, minute 20, minute 30, minute 40, and it goes all the way across to the other side of America. Well, what's going to happen is that you've got people over here in Oregon that started seeing it an hour ago, but you're going to see it here soon, and now you see it here on the East Coast, and you're like, okay, wow, I got a minute and a half of the corona, the fiery flames coming off of the sun around the moon. And they're going to stitch all the people's phones that have sent those images in, like 300 images of the eclipse happening and the full total moment. They're going to send all those images into the Google server from all the phones along the path of totality to the point to where they've covered enough areas that mean if you were to watch the sun and could visually see the corona without needing to be blocked by the moon, for a whole hour, you would watch that corona do this for a whole hour. And because they're stitching together images from all these different times that are different lengths of time covered, you're going to have a seamless time lapse of the corona that lasts 60 minutes. Now I'm going to pull this up while Rusty gives his one last big thing, but if you don't have that on your phone, I wanted to pick my phone, but I don't have it. If you don't have it on your phone, get that set up, and then maybe even just lean yourself against a rock. I don't know, whatever you can to get your phone to be facing towards the eclipse and have that take part in the eclipse fun and load those pictures up to Google. It does entirely automatically through the app, and take part in that program and see if we can get that really, really, really cool 60-minute corona. I mean, I don't know if I'll sit there and watch 60 minutes of a corona going, but I'm excited for it to happen for science and for studying everything and maybe understanding it a little bit more and bringing maybe some technologies that's going to use the solar power a little bit better. I mean, I'm excited for a whole lot of options in this.
That sounds awesome. I hadn't heard of that app, but I'm gonna have to look that up and get that on my phone for sure.
I gotta get it right now up and so I can tell everybody. I'm gonna find it. So while you tell your last bit, I'm gonna find that app and see what it is.
Okay, cool. So another piece of another website that I've been using to do some of my research is timeanddate.com, and that shows that website shows the path of the eclipse all the way through the country, and you can click anywhere on that path, wherever you're thinking of going or where you're going to be during the eclipse, and it'll give the exact times to the second when the eclipse starts, when the partial starts, when totality begins, the max totality, and then whenever it starts going the other way. So you can really plan ahead to, okay, you could even set up little reminders on your phone, or have somebody there with you, a friend who's letting you know, okay, this is whenever this is going to happen, so you can be ready to, with your camera, to get the shot or to take the filter off or whatever you need to do. But probably the biggest thing I want to re-emphasize again, and we've already talked about it, is this is a pretty big event that may be the only time in some of our lifetimes that we get to see this. So although I'm going to be trying my best to get the shots, I'm going to try my best to get some interesting shots. There's going to be how many millions of photographs of this thing. Don't forget to just take the time to enjoy it, to look at it with your own eyes. Take a break from the camera just for a few seconds and look at this thing with your own eyes, because you're not going to be able to, your camera's not going to be able to capture what you're going to be able to see with your eyes. So take the time to enjoy it and just take it all in and just experience it. If things aren't going quite right with the camera, what I'm going to do, I'm going to shut it off. I'm just shut off the camera and I'll just watch the eclipse with my eyes, and I'll look at everybody else's awesome images. So,
right. I completely agree.
Definitely want to enjoy it for sure. But on another note,
There's someone watching on Facebook that I know from long ago. He's a friend of mine from the Netherlands, and I had to give him a shout out, even though there's also Stephen Magner on, who I'm also proud of and fond of. So, hey, Stephen, you too. So what were you saying, Rusty?
Cool. So this eclipse is a big deal, but I will add that there's going to be another eclipse, another total eclipse in 7 years in 2024 that's going to cross the United States, basically from the southwest, from Texas, and go up to the northeast. And it's also going to be
on the United States, and it's the end. It's when the
yeah,
Earth is like right here. Send your rays.
Where those two paths cross is roughly Carbondale, Illinois, somewhere in that area.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure what's going to happen right there, but it's going to be kind of interesting.
That's interesting to say Carbondale, because Carbondale is the point of the longest duration for the total eclipse. This one, so they cross in the same point with the longest duration.
The same area.
I guess it only makes sense, probably, because of the way the Earth is. Wow.
So that's pretty interesting. If we don't get shots for this one, we only have 7 years to wait for the next one.
Well, and I also have the eclipse stuff from Google. The reason why I couldn't find it very quickly is because they call it the Eclipse Mega Movie 2017. So go to eclipsemega.movie. That is a website, .movie. And so I put the link here in YouTube. You can put it up there on Facebook for me, anyone who's watching. It's the Eclipse Mega.movie. Go there. It'll show you how to participate in that. Get your phone ready for it. I'm excited for it. So excited. The word is excited. I'm excited for it, and I can't wait. I just got a new phone that I'm hoping I can use more, better than I could have used my older phone. So I'm really excited. I mean, even if I only get one camera shooting the whole scene, if I can get this one to have the eclipse in close frame, and I have that on my phone, I'm going to be plenty excited about that. I don't know if I mentioned how excited I've been. I'm going to be excited. I'm not stoked, at least, I guess.
It's going to be cool. Hey,
so, any last questions? We're going to hang up here soon. We're going to be ending this live broadcast. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thanks for letting me know that the sound was going in and out. I don't know what to do other than just to depend on this Video Pro, because Brendan and I will invest in one ourselves after we borrow this from Drew and prove that it works fantastic and a million times better. And Rusty's even agreed to move up here to Utah so he can be in studio next time, so it'll be much easier. So
absolutely.
Any pending questions, ask now. Rusty, thank you so much for being a part of this. How can people find your stuff? One person already asked to see your website. I put rustyparkhurst.com, but where else can they find you, man?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram as well. Just type Rusty Parkhurst and I'll pop up. But I'm also writing articles on the Improved Photography Podcast, or not podcast, website. I publish an article on there about every 2 weeks if you want to catch that, and as well as all the other writers. There's tons of useful information on there. So go on there and check that out. But yeah, mainly my website and the social media.
Awesome. And let me let you answer this question, and I'll answer it with you. We have one question that came in, basically for the partial eclipse. What type of settings can you expect?
So basically, and this is going to vary a little bit depending on what filter you have. So what I would suggest is to set, and this is where practice is going to come in. If you have some time to get out this weekend before the eclipse happens, get out, because you're going to be shooting the full sun, obviously, on the weekend, but it's not going to be a whole lot different than whenever it's partial. So get out, set your aperture maybe about 1 to 2 stops above wide open, wherever that is on the lens that you're using. If you're using a really long lens, your max aperture may be 5.6 or 6.3 or something like that. So go maybe a stop above, or 2 stops, maybe f8 or f11. Set your ISO at the native ISO, the lowest you can get, and then just adjust your shutter speed based on that. Take some test shots and see what looks the best as far as the exposure. But again, it's going to vary a little bit depending on the filter that you're using.
Yeah. And I just got another question about for my landscape wide shot. It's just going to be a standard bright light composition. So I'm going to want to make sure that the sun is visible. So I'm going to lower my shutter crazy. And I'm going to take my shot so that it's I'm probably going to underexpose intentionally, or I can do bracketing. But because it's a time lapse and I want to get a lot of images, I don't want to bracket. It's going to be a nightmare in post if I bracket. So I'm just going to underexpose it so that I can get the sun more defined instead of just a blown out white object, because it's going to be mostly blown out just a little bit. But then when it gets to the partial eclipse and the more full eclipse, it's going to become more defined. And if I'm too underexposed, the scene around me will be too dark, and so I'm going to use the auto ISO feature, underexpose it, maybe like a bracket or two below. My EV compensation will probably be too under. It's just something I'm going to play around with, but I recommend make sure that you go for that with an underexposure so that you can see it in a wide angle scene and still see the sun. Chuck Egan, 92% totality in Salt Lake City. It is. It's going to be awesome here still, even if you don't make it up north where all the traffic's going to be. I just knew I had to be there for the real thing. And so, Rusty, thank you so much for joining us. Someone just on here looked at your photos and they couldn't believe it. They said, "How are your photos so dang sharp?"
Well, I just sharpen the heck out of them. No.
I use the sharp slider and just go,
Yeah.
clarity 100.
No, you gotta use those smartly and not over sharpen. But most importantly, it's a good idea just to try to get as good as you can in camera. For my landscape shots, I'll do a lot of manual focusing. Zoom in on using live view, zoom in on the object or whatever I'm trying to focus on, and just use manual focus to get as sharp as I can.
Awesome.
But yeah, just takes a little bit of practice.
A lot of practice, a lot of work. Thank you, Rusty, for joining me. Thank you, Facebook. We're going to hang up you second since you guys have suffered through an in and out situation. Thank you guys for watching this. It's another Astro Photog. It's not a live webinar. It's an Astro Photog podcast, which is just a sub-podcast of the Photog Adventures podcast. Check us out. Check out Rusty's episodes. We've talked with him 3 other times and a 4th time hidden that we never released about mirrorless cameras, unfortunately, Rusty. But that's okay. We have plenty of time to get him back on here. Sharpen and clarity, definitely the first things he's overused first. Joe says that's definitely what he overused the most first, is clarity and sharpen. So he gets it. Hey, you're welcome, Joe. Thanks for joining us, and we're going to hang up here. We'll see you next time on another live stream soon when we're doing a Photog Adventures favorites. See you guys, and I'm going to go